and is standing up, please take it outside. I call the member for Stretton.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. And it's time to pick up the pace. It's time to. The member for Condamine says he's a horse racing fan. It's time to crack the whip. It's time to pick up the pace, Mr Deputy Speaker, because the reality is, Mr Deputy Speaker, this is a fantastic budget, Mr Deputy Speaker. But I've got to say, Mr Deputy Speaker, listening to the contributions of those opposite, for the first time in my life, Mr Deputy Speaker, I actually feel sorry for the member for Everton. I never thought I'd have this feeling, Mr Deputy Speaker, but it started with the member for Nanango. So she got up here and made a whole heap of spending commitments for the LNP, and then we've had opposition member after opposition member, Mr Deputy Speaker, make commitment after commitment after commitment. And I can just picture the member for Everton. I can see him. He's up on level 9 right now. He's got the abacus. He's got the slide rule out, trying to make all these commitments work, trying to make them all fit in. And I say, Mr Deputy Speaker, I say to the member for Everton, if you're listening, throw the slide rule away, throw the abacus away. You know what you need to do, member for Everton? You need to pull out that rusty whistle. You need to blow that whistle, ref. Come in here, blow that rusty whistle and put a stop to these reckless spending commitments from all those opposite, because it's just commitment after commitment, Mr Deputy Speaker. And of course...
Order. You're getting loud. Order.
Mr Deputy Speaker, surely there will come a time when the member for Everton walks in here and finally blows the whistle on this reckless spending. But of course, on these reckless spending commitments, Mr Deputy Speaker. But of course, the irony of all this, Mr Deputy Speaker, is following on from the member for Nanango, member after member, with the slightly honourable exception of the member for Condamine, who seems to have woken up over there. They've come up here and talked about debt, but they've talked about the debt. The reality is the debt is almost $10 billion less under our government than it was under theirs. But all of a sudden,
paying their debt.
Debt's become
Order. I remind the members the comments are directed through the chair. Standing order 247. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And I'm really struggling to follow the logic of those opposite, but I'll continue to listen intently. I'll continue to try and work it out, but I do feel sorry for the member for Everton, Mr Deputy Speaker. But of course, this budget, Mr Deputy Speaker, this budget is very carefully crafted to advance Queensland by building the infrastructure of the future, supporting jobs and economic growth. And of course, amongst other things, the budget provides the following: a total infrastructure program of $45.8 billion, which will support 38,000 jobs, $4.9 billion for better roads and transport outcomes, a record spend of $17.3 billion in health, a record spend of $14.1 billion in education and training, and $330 million to support the Great Barrier Reef over 5 years. Fantastic initiatives, Mr Deputy Speaker. And of course, Mr Deputy Speaker, we have delivered our fourth surplus budget, and there's surpluses across the forward estimates as far as the eye can see, Mr Deputy Speaker, as far as the eye can see. But, Mr Deputy Speaker...
Order. I said order.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'm glad they've woken up over there because, Mr Deputy Speaker, the most important asset we have, of course, is our young people, our children, and of course they deserve the best education possible, and we are determined to deliver it. I'm very proud to be part of a government that is delivering $250 million to build additional classrooms and facilities in Queensland schools, and I commend the Minister for Education because schools in Stretton are set to benefit from this program, with $23.5 million committed for a 2-storey performing arts centre at Stretton State College, including 2 drama studios, 2 music studios and also an additional 18 classrooms. And Mr Deputy Speaker, the Minister for Education knows this, but maybe not everyone in the House knows this. Stretton State College is well known for excellence in many areas, and particularly the performing arts. And last year I attended the Wizard of Oz musical that showcased the talents of Stretton State College students from all levels. I was also very lucky to attend the Symphony of Stars.
Order. Yeah. Member for Stretton.
Mr Deputy Speaker, those opposite might try to click the ruby shoes together, but it's not going to get them out of the fiscal and economic hole they've dug for themselves so far in this debate, Mr Deputy Speaker. But I'll move on, Mr Deputy Speaker, because I was very lucky to also attend the Symphony of Stars, which is the annual awards night at Stretton State College for students in the performing arts, which also had some fantastic performances. I commend Executive Principal Jan Maresca, Head of Department for Music, Adam Hornigold, and all the staff and parents and students involved. I know that these new facilities will help to foster and develop the abundant talent at Stretton State College, and I hope to join the Minister for Education, the whole Stretton State College community, for the sod turning and opening of these new facilities. And of course, Mr Deputy Speaker, there's also $235,000 for an electrical safety upgrade at Stretton State College and $7,000 for an electrical safety upgrade at Stretton Kindy. But wait, there's more, Mr Deputy Speaker. There's also an additional $10.5 million for 19 new classrooms at Sunnybank Hills State School, and there's been lots of positive feedback from the school community already. Mr Deputy Speaker, there is also funding allocated for a J-block roof replacement at Currabee Special School, and in fact, Mr Deputy Speaker, when I called the principal of Currabee Special School, Fleur Watson, to give her the good news, it was actually her birthday.
Oh, well done.
I take all those interjections. Happy birthday, Ms Watson. It was a significant birthday. I won't tell the House which one it was, but she had a great surprise from her staff, and she said it was a wonderful birthday present to receive that fantastic news.
So it should be.
Mr Deputy Speaker, the other thing I'm very pleased to hear, I see in this budget, Mr Deputy Speaker, is $2.5 million to resurface Bow Desert Road from Illawina Street to Muirhead Street and Ormskirk Street to Bradman Street. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, this resurfacing is vital to clean up the absolute mess the LNP Council caused in my local community when they closed Illawina Street for absolutely no reason. They caused traffic chaos in our community, and I was very interested to have a look at the Brisbane City Council budget, which was delivered yesterday, Mr Deputy Speaker. If you blinked, you probably would have missed it. But I would have hoped and I would have thought that there would have been some kind of compensation, maybe a rate reduction, some kind of commitment to people in my local area to try and fix some of the damage they caused. But they didn't do it. To be honest, Mr Deputy Speaker, I think the LNP Council should be paying the $2.5 million, but I've got absolutely no confidence they'll do it. So we're going to commit that funding, and I think that's a fantastic thing. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, I spoke at the outset about the budget reply, which was much anticipated, Mr Deputy Speaker, at least by some, and by any fair analysis, Mr Deputy Speaker, it definitely was a lacklustre effort, and I don't think there will be too many column inches devoted to that laborious effort from the member for Nanango tomorrow. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, I've always tried to be fair, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'm always willing to give credit where it's due, and I have to say, I always thought the worst budget reply I would ever hear was the member for Clayfield's effort back in 2016. I really didn't think anyone would be able to top that, but the member for Nanango, she's managed to plumb new depths earlier today, and it is truly the worst budget reply I've ever heard. Mr Deputy Speaker.
Order. Order. Order.
Now I only say, Mr Deputy Speaker, that I hope the member for Nanango will never take the title from the member for Clayfield for the worst budget ever, because that will truly be a dark day for Queenslanders, Mr Deputy Speaker. It'll be a terrible day. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, she's taken the title for the worst ever budget reply. I hope the member for Nanango, Mr Deputy Speaker, never takes the title for the worst budget, because it would be a complete nightmare for our great state. And of course, Mr Deputy Speaker, the member for Nanango, she really gave the game away when she said, and I quote, "I am proud, very proud of the LNP's record in government." Now, I note that I haven't heard any other member of the opposition use that kind of language, make that kind of outlandish statement. But the reality is we'll hear it from the member for Southport soon. I look forward to that. Quite a foolish thing to do, Mr Member for Southport, but some people just repeat mistakes, I guess, Mr Deputy Speaker. But of course, Mr Deputy Speaker, as the member for Southport would know, the LNP did hold government from 2012 to 15, and the member for Nanango says she is proud of that record. So I was just trying to find out what she was actually proud about. Mr Deputy Speaker. I was trying to work it out because the reality is, Mr Deputy Speaker, the member for Nanango...
Order. Member for Southport, member for Gladstone. Through the chair.
So, Mr Deputy Speaker, to give you a quick rundown to try and work out, I'm trying to take you through, Mr Deputy Speaker, how I was trying to work out what the member for Nanango actually was proud of. So you had the 2012-13 state budget. So that was the one where you remember it, member for Southport, 14,000
through the chair.
Sacked, $1.4 billion from the capital program, and an increase of taxes, Mr Deputy Speaker, $600 million. She can't be proud of that one, right? She can't possibly. So let's look at the 13-14 state budget. It was completely uninspiring, nothing to stimulate growth, reduce gross state debt. Member for Nanango can't be proud of that one either, Mr Deputy Speaker. So the only one left is the 14-15 state budget. Let's have a look at that one. Well, the 2014-15 state budget, the centrepiece of that was a desperate attempt to reduce debt through a fire sale of the state's prime silverware by liquidating $37 billion in highly profitable state assets. Nothing to be proud about there, Mr Deputy Speaker. Someone in those opposite really has to tell us, Mr Deputy Speaker, what the member for Nanango is proud of, because none of us here can work that out. But Mr Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, this is a budget that invests and creates jobs. This is a budget that builds the economy of the future. This budget delivers on our promise to put Queenslanders first. Mr Deputy Speaker, I commend the budget to the House.
Mr Speaker.
I call the member for Buderim.
Well, Mr Speaker,